My name is Chris Gampat. I run the B&H Photo Tumblr here, and I also run a couple of other social media platforms for the company as well. This event is going to be a tour of Tumblr, as we call it. I'm going to try to squeeze everything I possibly can into the event about the platform, but the best way to really learn more about Tumblr is to get in and experience it yourself. Experience is the best teacher. Before I do start the event, I want to ask you guys a couple of questions to try to get to know the audience a bit better. How many of you have used the web before for marketing reasons? And by that specifically, I actually mean like have your own photo website of some sort. Can I have a show of hands, please? Okay, quite a few of you. How many of you have blogged before? Okay, a couple of you. Of those of you that have blogged before, how many of you have used Blogspot? Not many of you. WordPress? WordPress, okay. How many of you have actually used Tumblr, which is what this event is on? Okay, there's a couple of you. Can I see those hands again? I'm sorry. Okay, there's a couple of you that do have some experience. Photo sharing services. How many of you use Flickr? Okay, how many of you use 500px? Okay. Lastly, social media. How many of you are on Facebook? Come on, everyone raise your hands. Go right ahead. How many of you are on Twitter? Okay, here's a big one. How many of you are on Pinterest? A couple of you. Okay, cool. I'm impressed. The reason why I ask those questions is because Tumblr has the advantage of being both a blogging platform and social media platform. And there are a lot of advantages to the whole system that we're going to go over in the event. Before we start, once again, though, I'm going to ask that you all please try to hold your questions until the end. I'm going to try to get through this event and try to allow a full half hour of Q&A towards the end. Also, please refer to the handout that you guys got at the beginning of the event. There are a lot of key terms on there that I will be mentioning throughout the event, and a lot of it's very clearly defined there as well. So with that being said, let's get into the tour. First off, though, why should you use Tumblr? It's a super simple blogging platform that has an emphasis on creating content in a very straightforward and easy to use way. Maybe you just want to share a couple of photos from a senior portrait session that you just did, or you spent maybe an hour and a half working in Lightroom or Photoshop to try to get a perfect landscape photo. And you just want to share that. Tumblr will make that really, really simple for you by using the photo sharing blog post option. Or maybe you want to take it a little bit serious and maybe you've got a special package deal that you want to announce. You can do that via a text post option. Tumblr's overall just going to make it all very, very simple for you. And even simpler is the fact that you can also set up Tumblr to automatically update your Facebook and Twitter profiles. We're going to go into Tumblr later on and we're going to show that off because I'm sure that's of interest to many of you. There's also a very active art and photography community on Tumblr. Remember when I mentioned the whole social media aspect of Tumblr? Well, there are a lot of different artists, photographers, editors, art buyers, and people with a whole wide variety of backgrounds on Tumblr. So you can go in and network with them pretty much the same way you could at a networking event in real life. While Tumblr is another place for you to show off your work, the advantage of it is the fact that it's both a blog and social network. So if it's just a blog, you really have to try to find a way to bring people into the blog. But because it's also a social network, it is easier to find people to come into your Tumblr website and to check out your work. And just like in real life, I'm going to recommend that you guys try to exercise good judgment. And by that, I mean you really don't want to spam people and flood people with every single photo that you shot recently. What you'll probably want to do is you'll probably want to share like maybe the best 2 or 3 photos and try to get a conversation or a dialogue started with other people about those photos. And the best thing to do when developing content for Tumblr is to really try to stick to what you feel you're good at. So if you're a landscape photographer, try to stick to sharing and curating just landscape stuff. But if you are a portrait photographer, try to stick to that. Also, in addition to that, if you really aren't sure what you're best at, a good idea is to take David Brommer's Finding Your Photographic Styles class. You guys should take a look out for that on the event-based calendar if you can. It can really help you with that. There are also other ways to further engage your audience. Those of you that have used Blogspot or WordPress before, you may be familiar with what's called the Discuss plugin. That's spelled D-I-S-C-U-S. Basically allows people to comment on your postings very, very easily without them having to go in and create a whole nother login of some sort. Instead, what they can actually do is they can log in with the information they use with their Gmail account or their Twitter account or their Facebook account or something else like that. So it makes it easier for people to interact with you. There are other ways too. You can also set up your Tumblr post to be replied to very easily, or you can just reblog a post. Reblog is mentioned in the handout that you got. You can reblog a post and you can give a reply if you want to as well. Lots of protection of your work. As photographers, we're very big on this, and Tumblr is also very big on giving proper citation to the people that created their work. So usually when you upload an image or insert correct metadata after editing, it'll try to pull that information, or it'll try to give a correct attribution to the source. And as you can see, The Verge, who is a tech website, you can see that the source is from The Verge for this story. But here's another option as well too. Usually what will happen is when you see an image, you'll usually have like a little eye of some sort that you can click on right there. And Tumblr used to actually pull not only all the EXIF data that you see right there, but it also used to pull information like copyright or creator or something like that. They got rid of it. I'm pretty confident though that they will probably be putting it back in sooner or later. Also, you have quite a bit of customization in Tumblr. Those of you that are familiar with WordPress, the way your website looks is dictated by what's called a theme. And WordPress has a lot more themes, but Tumblr also has quite a bit that are very good to use. A lot of them are free, but there are a couple what they call premium ones that you have to pay for. The prices range anywhere from $9 to, I think the most expensive one I've seen was maybe $112. But the difference between a free Tumblr theme and a premium Tumblr theme is the premium Tumblr theme usually allows you to have much more accessibility right out of the box, and it's also much easier to do certain things versus have to go in and custom code the HTML. On the left here is the Photographer's theme, the Photographer's website I run. There is quite a bit more available right out of the box. I mean, I do have the whole header bar up there. And on the right here is James Nord's theme. James Nord is a photographer that I absolutely love the guy's work. He's based here in New York, and he's a friend of B&H's as well. That's a free theme, and actually, believe it or not, to put all this information right here on the right, he had to go in and he actually had to do a lot of coding, or he might have actually hired someone to do the coding for him. Yeah. Also, Tumblr has its own email system. Just kind of like Facebook's messages and Twitter's DMs. However, it's kind of different. Like Facebook, images and other things can be attached to your messages, but with Tumblr, you have the choice of either responding to the message privately or responding to it publicly and making it appear on your dashboard and your Tumblr itself. An example of when you'd probably want to respond to something publicly is when someone sends you a message and they say something like, "Hey, I love your work," or "What cameras do you use?" And you can basically take someone saying, "Hey, I love your work," as kind of a testimonial, and you can respond to saying, "Hey, thanks, I really appreciate your input." Or when someone's saying, "What cameras do you use?" you can basically just respond back to them publicly and say, "I'm using Canon 5D Mark II or a Nikon D800, just because it's information that other people may want to know. There's also very simple mobile integration. How many of you have smartphones, like an iPhone or an Android phone? Okay. Instagram is a very big iPhone app. It should be coming to Android. I really wish it came to Android already, but it has not. They're really big on Tumblr, and actually a lot of people shoot images with their smartphones and then upload them straight to Tumblr because of the simple integration and because of just how sleek the app is. Also, as photographers and creatives, we do sometimes go through slumps where we need inspiration. And Tumblr is a really, really great place to actually go to find inspiration. Their search engines are very good at finding different things that you may be interested in, like black and white street photography, or landscape photography, or portraits, or a whole bunch of different things. I mean, I want to do a whole shoot with a ballerina one day, so I'm actually able to go in and I can find a lot of images that have been uploaded by photographers that have shot ballerinas, and it gives me some inspiration to work with, essentially. So if you ever are in a slump, Tumblr is a great place to go to try to find inspiration. And lastly, there's also a great sense of friendship there. And I mean, other people don't really try to rip each other apart on Tumblr, as is very common on the internet. Everyone's really friendly with one another, and they're all very supportive of one another. So that's really great to know, being a creative. So this is Tumblr right here. And first off, I just want to show you this very quickly. They have 30 reasons why you'll love Tumblr. They give you a whole bunch. You can take a look at those at your leisure, but either way, right now, we're just going to sign up right now. So I'm going to use my Yahoo account. And the way Tumblr works is you'll usually have something like thephotographer.tumblr.com. For B&H, we have b&h.tumblr.com, and my own is chrisgampat.tumblr.com. So we're going to try to figure out a name for this. As far as my knowledge goes, you cannot change it later on, or if you do change it later on, it's going to still be very, very tough to do and may not necessarily work out totally to your advantage in terms of the long run. But we're going to try to think really carefully about a name right now. I'm willing to take some ideas from the audience. What do you think that we should probably call this? I'm sorry?
Photo friend.
Photo friend? Okay, we'll try it. photofriend.tumblr.com. photofriend.tumblr.com. Let's see if that's going to work. Logging in. We got in. Cool. Now, just to let you know, too, Tumblr also kind of holds your hand through the beginning, and they do give you a very, very nice tutorial of the entire interface. This right here is the dashboard. And the dashboard is the equivalent of, say, your Facebook newsfeed or your Twitter newsfeed. And everyone that you follow or subscribe to, all of their updates are shown right here in the dashboard, and you can just easily just go through them and see everything you possibly want to, essentially. And it also tells you when it's updated, so that's something new that's came in. And as you see, the dashboard did change a bit. We want to create some content of our own. First off, let's check out what content we do have. And to do that, we can click on this. I see Chris Gampat's test photo blog, and that's what I did in the last event space class. And as you can see, this is all the stuff that I've done. This is the equivalent to, in Facebook, it would be your timeline now. How many of you have actually enabled timeline, by the way? Okay, quite a bit of you. Otherwise, it would probably be your Facebook wall, for those of you that have not enabled the timeline. So you can see all of the interactions that have happened. Someone started following me. Someone reblogged a photo set that I posted. Someone liked a photo. Liking is the same pretty much as hearting, and as you see, there is a heart right there. So let's create some content. I want to create a photo blog post. So I want to go in, click on photo right now. And I want to upload, okay, we're going to take photos from another session that I shot. So I want to upload this photo right here of a special wrist strap that I use. So I'm going to click on open. And I have the option, before I actually create the post, to insert some text. I want to say something about this. This is a camera strap. So I'm gonna say it personally. I love this camera strap from Hold Fast Gear. Okay, that's just a quick caption that I can put into there. But there, I also need to insert tags, and tags are what people would probably type into Tumblr search engine in order to find this content if they wanted to. So we're going to make all of the tags very relevant to whatever the post entails. So this has to deal with a camera strap. So I'm going to absolutely type in camera strap. It's also a leather camera strap, so I'll type in leather, photography, and that should be about it for the moment. And now I have a bunch of options here. I can either choose to publish this now, I can either choose to add it to a queue. That means that Tumblr will actually take the post and set it up to be published around a certain time. So let's say I want all of my posts published maybe around 12 midnight to 3 p.m. I can set it so that Tumblr will only publish postings between that time period. However, Tumblr does kind of get wonky sometimes, and servers do tend to crash. So sometimes you'll also find that if you do queue a post up, it will not publish, and you may actually have to go in and manually do it yourself. It's also another good reason to have the mobile app, because then you can actually go in, you can just say, oh, that wasn't published. I'll publish it right now. It's very simple. Or I can set it to publish at a certain time. You can set it up to publish at a certain time. So let's say I want to have it published on, today's Tuesday, right? Let's say this Thursday. So Thursday at let's say 2 p.m. Okay, or I can choose to save it as a draft. So if I'm not done with this posting and I want to come back to it later and I want to really fill it in because I don't feel this caption is appropriate enough, I can actually choose to save it as a draft and it won't be published, and I'll be able to come back to it and edit it with no problems later on. The other option is to publish it and make it private. I've never really done that at all, so I'm not really going to go into that. But at the moment, I'm going to choose to publish it now. And I'm also going to choose to let people photo reply. That means that when they reply, if they choose to actually reply to my post, they can actually upload a photo. Other than that, what Tumblr allows you to do is basically just reply via just text. So I'm going to now, before I create it though, I want to take a look at what it's going to look like on the page. So let's hit preview. So this is what it's going to look like on the page. Okay, so let's create the post. Cool. So it's been created, and I don't know why it opened it up in another tab, but it did so at the moment. So once again, this is my dashboard, and you guys actually just got a quick glimpse of what my Tumblr page itself looks like to the rest of the world that is not logged into Tumblr. So if I want to change that around, what I could actually do is I could click on Customize Theme right here. Okay, I have to verify the email address again, and I'm verifying the email address. Cool. Let's close out of that. There's Tumblr. Okay, so now we're going to go back to my stuff, and now I want to customize the theme to look different. Now, this is what it currently looks like. Well, this isn't really what it currently looks like, but Tumblr basically gives you a general preview of what it will look like for different posts. Like we did a photo post, so that's significant and shows that it's an actual photo, and that's a quote post. And this is a link, and that's a conversation. But let's say I want it to look totally different than what it does right now. I'm going to hit themes right here on the top left corner. And I can choose either all themes, or I can choose to narrow it down. There are free themes. There are themes with a single column, kind of like what I have right now. There are 2-column themes. There are 3-column themes. There are grids. There are a whole bunch of different ones. So I'm going to go through these themes, see what I like. Let's click on Brutal Simplicity. And now it loads up, and this is what my Tumblr would look like if I chose to go with that. But I think that's really ugly, so I'm not going to go with that. Let's try Strict. Strict. As you see right now, remember we had the little photo camera icon before there? What this one is actually doing to signify that something's a quote is it's saying a memorable quote, or it's saying a nice image. I'm still not feeling that though, so let's go with something else. Let's click on this. And I don't really like the color scheme of this, so I'm not going to go with it. Let's click on Office though. And this is just to show you guys how many different themes Tumblr has. Tumblr has quite a bit that you might want to work with, but let's try to narrow this down a bit more. Let's see all of the minimal vintage looking themes, because I love vintage looks. Now, this is a premium theme, and that's signified by the little price tag up top there on the top right. So in order for me to use this theme, I would have to pay $49, but it looks pretty nice. It is a one-time fee, absolutely. Or I don't like, you know what, no, I don't really want to pay for a theme right now. Maybe I'll want to pay for a theme later on. So I'm going to go with free themes. I'm going to check those out. I'm going to go with the minimalist right now. I've used that before. This is my old Tumblr theme. And I really do kind of like it. So now that I've selected it, I'm going to click on Use right up top here. And now I get a whole new option right here on the left-hand panel. And it gives me it gives me the ability to change a lot of different things on the Tumblr. So right now we have the header as Chris Gampat's test photo Tumblr. So we're going to call this instead a friend to photography. The internet will speed up. So notice how as I change the title here, it changed accordingly right over here. I want to change the description though. This is a test Tumblr blog designed for use for the B&H event space. I want to change it to We Love Photography, and I'm going to spell that correctly, and we hope that you do too. Now, let's say that I wrote a lot and a lot. I can actually continue to see what I've been writing and edit it by using this little marker right here. So I can expand it at will if I need to. Other than that, I can keep it collapsed to make better use of the real estate over here, because I do have some very, very narrow space to work with. And my appearance, I can choose to show the description or not. The description, once again, is right up here. And I can take it out, or I can not take it out. And for the moment, it is not working, but usually it does. Some themes are a little wonky in the way they work, some are not. Usually the premium themes, you get everything that you pay for. They really do work very well. I can choose to add a Twitter short name as well. I'm going to add my own personal one at the moment, which is Chris Gampat. I'm not going to add a Discuss short name at the moment. I'm not going to add my Google Analytics ID though. The reason why you might want to add a Google Analytics ID is because you might want to track the incoming traffic, the outgoing traffic. You might want to see what is specifically being clicked on as well too. So that way you can use that to create more content like that and further engage your audience if you'd like. But there's a lot more to my Tumblr theme though. I can also add specific pages. So if I want to set up something like a specific About Me page, I can do that right now. So I can set that specific page URL to be cgampat.tumblr.com/ let's say About Me. And then I can change the page title to All About Chris, for example. And then I can choose to show a link on this page. And then I can enter in the body, this is a test page about Chris. And also, if you'll notice, when I'm writing text, a lot of this should look familiar to those of you that use Word. For example, I can make it all bold if I want to, or I can make it italicized, or I can strike it out, or I can choose to put it in a block quote. I can add an image if I want to. I can add hyperlinks. I can use spell check. Or if you're more advanced, you can just go ahead and edit the raw HTML that you will see right there. But we're going to stay away from that for the moment, and I'm just going to create the page. Then you have some advanced options as well too. You can choose to have 10 posts per page, and by that I mean like what's on your front page. So that means that if I choose to have 10 posts per page, that means that on my 11th post, my very, very first post, and this goes in chronological order, my very first post will go to the second page, and then people will have to click on page 2 in order to get back to see those older posts. Very similar to the way most modern websites work or most blogs work these days. So I can choose to either have 15 or I can choose 1. For the moment, I'm going to choose 6. And the reason why I'm going to choose 6 is because the less you keep on your front page, the faster it is to load when someone goes to check out your work on their computer. So if you're sharing a lot of images, images do take time to load up. And finding a balance between making a user go from one page to the next one and showing off a lot of images is really a judgment call on your own part. You can also choose to open links in a new window. You can choose a mobile layout. This Tumblr will look much different on a phone than it will on your computer. Once again, it's optimized for your phone or your tablet or whatever mobile device you're using. Using descriptive URLs, I don't really worry about that too much. And promote your Tumblr. You can show a follow button on a follow button to non-Tumblr users. I'll show you guys what that looks like in a second. But at the moment, since I'm all done editing my theme, I'm just going to click Save. And it's saved. And now I can click on Close. Now let's take a quick look at what my Tumblr looks like. I could go straight to the browser and I could type in cgampat.tumblr.com, but the other way is to click on a friend of photography and then easily just click on Open a friend of photography. And this is what it looks like at the moment. So we've got the About page right here, all about Chris that we set up before, and it's a test page. So that's that. But let's try to create other postings now. Let's add another photo. And instead of uploading one, let's try to use a URL instead. So I've actually got my 500px page right here. And what I actually could do, oh wow, they do not allow you to upload to do a straight sharing to Tumblr right now. Well, the new 500px isn't at least. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use my Flickr page. And I'm going to click on Share. And I'm going to grab the link. So I'm going to copy this link right here. And what I can do is I can choose, I'm back in Tumblr now, choose a URL. I'm just going to paste that right in there. And I'm going to pull the caption that I put here, copy it, cancel, and I'm just going to paste that in right there. And I'm going to choose, yeah, let's publish it now. But let's add some tags beforehand. Engagements. I shot this out in Long Island, New York, so I'll put that there. New York. It was a wedding engagement. That's really about it. Oh, this is a portrait. And portraits are very good. Portraits are very important on Tumblr. I'll show you why in a bit. Now I'm going to create the post. There was an error uploading the photo, so it's not working at the moment. Sometimes Tumblr can not work like that. It can backfire on you, but usually it doesn't. I'm assuming there's some problems with their servers right now. There have also been problems with Flickr. Yeah, actually today is the 28th, and today I believe Flickr is launching their brand new layout that you guys might have heard of. I actually have access to it right now. So it may also be a problem on Flickr's part. So at the moment, I'm just going to upload another image then in that case. So now Should work with no problems. You see it's uploading. Okay, cool. It was uploaded very easily. And as you see, as I stated earlier, that little eye does show up, and if I click on that, I get the EXIF data that I mentioned before. Now that we're creating content, how do we go about getting followers or figuring out who we should follow? Tumblr has something called the Spotlight, and this is a link on the handout that I gave you. Tumblr.com/spotlight. In the Spotlight, you can find what Tumblr sees as probably some of the best Tumblrs out there. So there are a bunch of different categories. There are photography categories, for example. So I click on photography, and I see that Ryan Shute is a very big photographer. Okay, I'm going to follow him. Daniel Shea is another one. Maybe I want to follow him. I'll just follow, for the most part, mostly everyone for the moment. But I'm interested in more than just photography. Maybe I'm also interested in technology. So I'll click on technology, and Tumblr has immediately just shown me people that I may be interested in following. So that's really cool. So now I can go to following 28 people. And it's taking a little while to load. Tumblr is very slow sometimes. I can see pretty much everyone that I'm following. And as you see, I'm seeing quite a bit. I'm following quite a bit, so I have to go to another page. But at the moment, if I want to see everything that they're creating and they're publishing, just quickly go back to my dashboard. And I see content from this user right here, MP Droplet. If I want to know more information about that person, I can either ask them a question directly, I can send them fan mail, or I can unfollow them. Fan mail is basically another form of email that Tumblr has. I haven't really used it, and I'm not really sure too many people are using it right now either. But there's also quite a bit of content around here. Now, as you see right down here, this tag is highlighted in blue, and it's much different than these tags right down here. The reason why this is highlighted in blue is because it's seen by Tumblr's landscape editors to be very, very good content that everyone should be paying attention to. And when people are paying attention to that content, you usually do get more followers. And that's also why I said at the beginning of the event, try to focus on what you're really best at. There are portrait photography editors, there are landscape photography editors, there are black and white photography editors as well. There's actually quite a bit. You can explore more through the Spotlight. But by trying to give the landscape editors really, really compelling landscape content and tagging them with landscape, you'll be able to interact with them and they'll be able to see your work. They may put you on their radar so that they'll constantly check out your work. And then they may even want to interact with you as well too. And that's one way that you can become a bigger photographer and also advance your career as well. 500px. I'm really sad about 500px not being totally integrated again. You can also search for specific tags though. So I said landscape earlier. Let's go to everything tagged landscape right now. So I can see that, and that doesn't really inspire me, so I'm just going to keep going. This, even though, as we saw, it was tagged and curated by the landscape editors, it's not really inspiring to me either, so I'm not going to really like that one. But I do like this, so I'm going to choose to heart this. And when I heart that, that's the equivalent of me liking something on Facebook. I'm not making it part of my specific timeline, but I am telling someone, hey, good job. And if I want to go to everything that I've hearted, then I can actually go to all of my liked posts right up here on the dashboard. You have to scroll all the way back up. When you click on 8 liked posts, you see it comes up very easily. And these are all the posts that I've liked so far. Let's go back to the dashboard though. Because I'm really curating these types of photos, curating products, I mean, this kind of has like a vintagey feel to it. So does that. So does that in a way. Some of these photos, yeah, we'll say that this really has a vintagey type feel to it. So let's actually search for vintage products, because that way I'm not only publishing my own content, but I'm also curating and sharing the content of other people that do have interest in vintagey type products and vintage photos and anything really vintage. So this was tagged with vintage. I don't really like that though. That was just random. People do tend to tag things randomly that do not really belong in the specific category, but I do like this. So I'm going to choose to make this part of my Tumblr by giving the person correct attribution. And the way to do that is, instead of stealing their photo, I can just click on reblog right here. And I can choose to just basically make it appear the same way that I saw it just now. Or I can say, I haven't been to the Statue of Liberty since I was really young. And I'm going to correct my spelling right there. Great shot. And now I'm going to choose to reblog this post. But if I didn't want to reblog it immediately, what I could do is I could set it up to be published later on. So I like this, and I'm going to set it up to be published at a certain time. I'm going to set it up to be published, today's Tuesday, and it's 11:45 a.m. right now. I'm going to set it up to be published at 12 p.m. today, so in like 14 minutes or so. And I'm going to choose to not add anything else to this post, so I'm just going to choose schedule the post. But let's say that I'm on Tumblr right now. I know that I have a busy schedule ahead of me, so I'm not going to have time to go through Tumblr all day. So I'm going to want things to be published sporadically throughout, let's say, the next week. I can choose to reblog something like this, and I can choose to add it to my queue. And we're going to queue the post up for the moment. I'm going to show you the queue. I'm going to go back to everything in regards to my Tumblr, and I'm going to go to the queue right here on the right-hand side. When I click on that, I see the posts that have been queued up. And that means that this will be published February 28th at 12 p.m., and this will also be published today at 12 p.m. Or it may actually publish it next Tuesday at 12 p.m. It really varies. Tumblr can be, the queue can be a little buggy, but for the most part it works. And in addition to that, I can set how many times I publish throughout the day in the queue. So I can say automatically publish the queue. Let's say I maybe want to publish 3 times in a day. So I can set 3, and I can set it to any time between, I don't think people are really going to be reading my Tumblr or on Tumblr at 12 a.m. in the morning, so maybe I'll say, let's say around 9 a.m. to say, when people get out of work, they usually have dinner and they go to their computers and they check stuff out. And then they probably go to bed maybe at like 12 a.m. So let's say publish anywhere in between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. 3 times. So now I can click on save. And everything is all set. And now, as you see, it's publishing randomly. So that actually shows me that this will be published next Tuesday at 11:45 a.m. Sorry. Now, remember I talked about drafts earlier? At the moment, I have no drafts. So once again, to remind you guys, drafts are basically a post that I've worked on and I'm not finished editing or working on. And I want to come back to it to finish it up later on. So instead of doing a photo, let's do a text post. So let's call this a test draft. And I want to open it up with a photo. So I can choose to either insert an image, and this will actually let me pull an image that is currently existing on the web by pulling its URL and then inserting it. Or I can choose to upload the photo right now. I'm going to choose to upload a photo. Let's see if I can find something else, though. No, so at the moment, we're just going to go for this. I'm going to choose that right there. I'm going to choose open, and it's uploading. You can tell because that little thing is going. And as you see, the image has uploaded. My cursor's over here. If I start typing right now, then sometimes if it's a little bit of text, it will probably wrap around the image, meaning make the image on the left and the text on the right. So I'm going to actually press enter, and I'm going to say something like, I love this buckle. Let's say something a little bit more creative this time. This buckle doesn't destroy the bottom of my camera when I'm out shooting street photography. I really dig it. Okay. So now, you know, I'm not really feeling totally inspired, but I know that I can make this post a lot better. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to save it as a draft. And I'm going to choose Save Draft right down here. And I'll be able to come back to it later. Now, if you're familiar with WordPress or Blogspot, it will actually just save the post, and it will just keep it right here open for you. Tumblr's monkeys and whoever works there think that, okay, you probably want to go do something else right now. So if I want to go back to that draft, I have to click back right up here, and then I click on draft. And I see that I can go back to working on that. So I can choose, maybe I don't want to pursue this any further, so I might want to delete it. Or maybe I want to edit it right now. Or I can choose to queue it up, and it will be published anytime between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. as we set before. It will choose it randomly. Or I can choose to publish it immediately right now. But, I mean, I could probably do better with it, so I'm going to come back to it later. You also have, I'm going to go back to that right now, blog settings. Blog settings are a little bit different. I really wish they had this in the customized theme area, but they don't. You can set your own portrait photo, for example. So in the dashboard, as you saw right here, and I'm just switching from one tab to another, that right there is essentially your portrait photo, and that's what appears to other Tumblr users. So I can upload anything I want to right now, but I'm going to keep it like that at the moment. You can choose to set your Tumblr name to be something different, but every time that you change your Tumblr name, all of your links are changed, and I mean, that really isn't good for a lot of us journalists and a lot of us internet geeks do say it's not good for the internet. The reason why is because when you constantly change links, if someone is trying to link back to you, it makes it harder for them to do so in the long run because your entire URL is changed. Because let's say someone wanted to link to cgampat.tumblr.com, and I chose to change it to afriendofphotography.tumblr.com. If they go to cgampat.tumblr.com, they'll just go to an empty page. And they'll be like, hey, what happened to this guy's Tumblr? They don't necessarily know that I changed the name. So for the moment, I mean, we're not going to change the name, but it's really good when you're going into Tumblr or any blog platform as it is, if it's WordPress or Blogspot, to really just have one name and stick with it. You can always create other platforms later, other user account names rather, later on. You can also allow people to reply to your post. Replying to your post, basically you have the post right here, and you'll see a little icon down here saying reply to. Not everyone does it because of the fact that, well, most people in Tumblr won't really reply to your posts, but for B&H, we've actually seen that it's done very well for us. You guys can check out B&H's Tumblr at b&h.tumblr.com, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about there. You can also let people ask you questions, and asking people questions is basically when you go to the profile, click on info right there, and you choose to ask them a specific question. It's kind of like that email platform that I was talking about specifically earlier on. In fact, it actually is specifically that email platform. You can choose to have multiple people submit to the Tumblr. So let's say you're running a studio and you want to have multiple accounts. Let's say I'm running Chris Gampat Photography Studios and I have an intern and I want to have my own account, and I want to have my intern to have an account, and I want to have my creative director to have an account. I can take their Tumblr account names and I can have them basically be like the staff underneath me, as I'm the admin and the creator of the specific Tumblr page. Or you can just choose to give your password out to every single person on your team, and it can be easier. It depends on really how you want to do it. But this is really an option designed for people that want to create a staff of various people. Wired has a Tumblr actually, and they have an editor for each of the 5 days of the week. So they most likely use this option, actually. You can also choose to share your Tumblr post in your Facebook newsfeed. The way to do that is if I click this off, I'm going to have to link it up via the Tumblr app. I'm going to choose not to do it at the moment, though, because I have quite a bit linked up with my current Facebook. And you can also choose to send the Tumblr post immediately to your Twitter account, and that's what you can do right here. You choose to sign in with Twitter, and you just type in your username and password, whatever it may be, and then you choose Authorize App, and whenever you publish a new post, it will automatically be published on your Facebook timeline or wall, and your Twitter feed as well too. So it will go out to all of your followers. If you're big on Twitter, a lot of people will be able to see your work very easily that way. If not, it's still much easier than you going in and manually tweeting that specific post that you published, or manually just putting that posting up on Facebook. You can also choose to post by email. As far as I understand, no platform has really gotten this perfectly set and working correctly, so I don't even worry about it at the moment. I also don't worry about RSS feeds at the moment as well too. RSS feeds, does anyone know what RSS stands for? Yes, sir.
Real Simple Syndication.
Real Simple Syndication. RSS stands for Real Simple Syndication. So when you actually see a little RSS icon, and I'll show that to you guys in a bit, that means that you can subscribe to whatever content is coming in from that website, and you can have that all come to one place for you. If any of you are Gmail users, you have an app called Google Reader immediately available to you. And Google Reader allows you to basically look at postings from various websites all in one place. I use it a lot for B&H Pulse, actually. So I subscribe to the homepage of Wired, and then I subscribe to another Wired blog, and then Ryan Brennezer, who's a very, very big friend of B&H's. And then I subscribe to, let's say, Kurt Tuck, for example. And I subscribe to them all via RSS. And because all of their postings are coming to one place, it makes it a lot easier for me to just go in and read that type of stuff rather than just having to go to each individual website. So if you do want to use RSS feeds, you can work with this. But if not, I mean, most people, they may want to come directly to your Tumblr as well and just basically check out the website and scroll up and down at their leisure. You can also set your time zones, and you can set whether or not you will be found and listed in Tumblr's directories. Also, if your Tumblr is not safe for work, obviously click off not safe for work, but we are not publishing anything not safe for work. So we are going to click on save. And now the options are saved. We are back right here. Mass Post Editor is another option that Tumblr gives you. I don't really use it, but it's something that Tumblr will allow you to basically just take a look at all of your old postings, and you can choose to edit the tags on the postings or add tags to postings, or you can choose to delete multiple postings at once. So I want to return back to my dashboard, and now I can do that right now. I usually just like staying on the dashboard because I like seeing what's coming up. But you have other options too in Tumblr. It gives you quite a bit, actually. If you click on this right here, this is another way of creating another Tumblr blog under the same email account that you have. So let's say I wanted to create, let's say we're going to call this one the event spaces photo Tumblr, and hopefully David Brommer won't kill me for doing that. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to publish it right there. URL cannot contain Tumblr. Okay. Event space photo. So now I can choose to basically password protect the blog so that no one else can get in, or I can choose to set this blog to be viewed only by people who enter the password, basically making it a private blog. But for the most part, most people will not be using this. It is another option that Tumblr does offer to you, though. Over right here, too, is another way of accessing your messages. Tumblr likes to give you, I'm not really going to say it's redundant, but they do give you a lot of different ways to do the same thing. So if you click back on a friend of photography, messages is one way of accessing the messages that people send you or the questions that people send you, but also you can do it right up here. And as you see, I have no messages at the moment. This over here is your preferences. And as you'll see, it's another menu. So now we have three menus. We have this one right here. I'm going to get out of this really quickly to show you guys once again. You have your blog settings, and you also have your customized theme. It'd be much easier for you guys to have it all in one place, but either way, that's the way Tumblr works, and Tumblr also understands that most people will not also always be changing their settings very often. But let's go back to preferences very quickly. I can choose to customize the blog again, which was basically the look that I had before. I can also choose to edit the post using a rich text editor, a plain HTML text editor, Markdown. This is brand new. I am not even totally familiar with this one. Text to HTML conversion. So we won't worry about that at the moment. For the most part, though, you may want to work with the rich text editor because it does give you a lot of the options that you do have. You can also choose on your dashboard to show the full-size photos, which means pretty much that right there, or you can choose to make them smaller. The reason why you may want to make them smaller is load speeds. Maybe you have an old computer and you don't really want to kill the RAM that much. You can choose to show your notifications. The notifications, if you remember back at the beginning of the event, I had the little one right there that gave me a notification that my dashboard was updated with new posts. You can choose to show that or not. Some people think it's annoying, some people think it's great. It's really up to you. It's your personal preferences. Show your post that you like. Obviously, if you're liking a post, you may want to go back to it later on. So, as I showed you guys earlier on, you can just go back to the liked posts, and you'll be able to access it. But also, what that does do is, let's go to cgampat.tumblr.com, which is Tumblr that I'm on right now. It will give me the option to display all of the posts that I have liked right up here. If I don't want to display all of those like posts, then I can just uncheck that if I want to. Also, another way of finding other people's Tumblrs and looking at them and following them is to basically just go to them yourself. So let's go to B&H's Tumblr for the moment. bnh.tumblr.com. Let's choose to follow it. That's a dapper young gentleman. See right up top here, because I'm logged into Tumblr, I can either choose to go to my dashboard right now, which is very convenient, or I can choose to follow this Tumblr. I like it, so I'm going to choose to follow it right now. Very, very simple. And now, everything from that Tumblr page will appear in my dashboard. And we have not published on our Tumblr yet for the day, so nothing is appearing. But later on when we do publish, things will appear. You'll see it will get populated very often. And for the most part, I mean, that's really all there is to Tumblr. Tumblr, there's so much that you can do if you work with the HTML. That's pretty much every blog platform though. But for the most part, most people are intimidated by the whole interface that you get from WordPress or the interface that you get from even Blogspot. So Tumblr can make things very, very simple for you as well. Something else that I'm going to show you guys before I take questions is actually B&H just published something. Cool. You saw just how quickly that was. We can tell it's B&H because you see B&H right there. That's our logo. I want to heart this, but instead of hearting it, I'll make it part of my Tumblr collection. No, why wouldn't I want to make it part of my Tumblr collection? Yes, go ahead.
Since it's already appearing in it, it's going to be double displaying.
No, I'm sorry. What I specifically mean is, why wouldn't I want to make this part of my specific Tumblr page? This is right now appearing on my dashboard, and it is not specifically something that I'm curating or reblogging. That's the equivalent of sharing on Facebook. I'm not specifically making this part of the stuff that I'm curating. Why wouldn't I necessarily want to make this a part of it? Yes?
But it's not a photograph, it's a plot. It doesn't seem like
So what she said is,
aesthetic as everything else you have on there.
yes, correct. It's not the same aesthetic as everything else that I have on there. As I said earlier, you really just want to stick to one topic and really try to push that one topic if you can. The topic that I chose to really push on my Tumblr was vintage type stuff. And this really wouldn't appeal to vintagey people. I mean, this looks very, I'm not really going to say nouveau, but it looks very rugged, and it wouldn't really appeal to the vintage crowd as far as I understand. So I wouldn't really want to make that part of my Tumblr experience that people will see when they come to my Tumblr page. But I may want to like it, so I'll choose to heart it instead. Let B&H, that, I show them a little bit of appreciation. There is another feature though. Tumblr also does show you a couple of things on the right-hand side that you may be interested in. This photo was curated or shot by Urbane Hood. Maybe I want to follow them, so I'll check them out. But I can also check out the Tumblr radar. Why is it not working right now? The Tumblr radar is basically essentially the same thing as the spotlight. The spotlight is where we went to earlier on to find all those photography related Tumblrs and those technology related Tumblrs. So you can go in there and you can find those people and you can engage them, you can follow them, you can like their work, you can reblog it if you want to. Beyond that though, you also do get to see how well you're doing by the notes that you have right here. Notes, basically, and when you click on it, it tells you the history of the post. So this person liked it, this person liked it, this person reblogged it. If this person reblogged it, maybe I may be interested in the type of work they have on their Tumblr. So let's check it out. So Sister Space, let's go there. Tumblr can be slow at times to work with. So, they have some cool stuff. So I'll choose to follow them. Why not? Follow. And I am now following them. So let's go back to my dashboard. Because I just pressed back, I'm going to actually just refresh the dashboard. Maybe some of their work will appear in my dashboard, but it does not. But yeah, there you go, right there. So you see that person reblogged that post. And if we go back down, oh, also, if you remember, this was also on their Tumblr. So I'm seeing everything come into there live. But this was the original post, if you see. And as you see, they're not stealing the content, they're just sharing it with all their followers and friends. What else? There's also other things. Maybe, oh, also, as you reblog things, your own reblogs or posts will appear in your dashboard. And maybe I'm having second thoughts about this one, and I don't want to have to go back into here and then go to, I don't want to wait for the load time. I don't want to go back here, and I don't want to delete it. Instead, what Tumblr does to make things very convenient for you is they allow you to just delete it right from the dashboard. So let's delete this. Yes, I want to delete it. I don't want it to be part of the stuff that I reblog and part of the stuff that I'm curating, because it's not really vintagey. There are vintage editors as well too. So let's take a look at vintage once again. And as you see right here, there are different editors. So these editors are the ones that basically make those little blue tags down here at the bottom and say vintage and say that, hey, this is quality content. You should be checking this person out. So I want to see more of the editors. There's quite a bit of them. I want to see the work that they're curating and posting themselves. So I'm just going to go ahead and I want to follow them because of the fact that I'm really interested in vintagey stuff. Now, beyond that, though, there are also the top contributors. These people aren't really recognized as by Tumblr to be the best of the best. They're recognized by the editors, essentially, to be the best of the best. So this person's a top contributor, so I'm going to follow them. Maybe I'll follow them, I'll follow them, I'll follow them, and I'll follow them. Or I can choose to show all posts tagged with vintage. And it comes up. Now, there are specific tags, once again, that are curated by specific editors. For example, black and white. If my Tumblr was all about, say, black and white street photography, then I may want to check this out because of the fact that there are editors that curate black and white content, and there are top contributors. Now, keep in mind, not every search term that you type in will be curated. And one of the ways to find that out is to click on Explore right down here. Explore is basically a lot of the top tags that are used on Tumblr. So let's say something is funny. There are editors that are curating funny stuff. Or something is vintagey. There are editors that are curating vintagey stuff, as I showed you guys. Fashion is also huge on Tumblr. So like around New York Fashion Week, there were so many posts just going out related to fashion because it was New York Fashion Week, and there are quite a bit of Tumblr users in New York. But there's more than that too. There's landscape, our old buddy that we were talking to earlier on. There's black and white that we were just talking about. Film gets confusing. A lot of people that shoot like Kodak, Portra, think that, oh, maybe I should tag my post with film. Film actually by Tumblr is looked at as like the movie that's coming out, The Avengers or something like that instead. So that's something to keep in mind. Once again though, as you start Tumblr and as you go through it, try to explore all the different tags and all the different categories as well too. There is a food section, so if any of you are really big foodies, you can just click on everything tagged food. And besides getting hungry, you can also check out all of the editors that are curating that type of content as well. Let's go back though. Once again, this is Tumblr Explore. Artists on Tumblr, usually when there's like a little lightning bolt there, that means that it's really, really hot. Same with NFL. NFL is really trending right now. I'm not a football. See, that's interesting too. See, people will tag things NFL, but you also have football right there. So when you're tagging content, you may want to tag for multiple different things. And that's why I was also tagging like camera strap and vintage for different reasons. Let's go back to my dashboard. And let's say that I find a great quote online. Here, this is another way of also finding stuff on Tumblr and also trying to add it to your Tumblr page itself. This is the Tumblr bookmarklet. And basically what it does is as you're perusing the web and you find really cool stuff, you can easily add it to your Tumblr page. Now last time this gave me a little trouble, but this time it seems to be working a little better. But basically what it allows you to do is it basically gives you a little button like right here. As you're around the web, you can just click on Add to Tumblr, and it will give you a bunch of different options. It'll let you say something like, blog this as text or blog this as a photo. And it will recognize all of the photos that are on that page. It will pull them up, and you'll be able to choose which one you want. Let's say I'm reading a story on a Fuji X100 shooter's thoughts on the Leica M9. And let's say that I thought that this was really cool right here. This quote right here. What the Tumblr bookmarklet would let me do, and unfortunately is not letting me do that at the moment, I'm going to have to download it and install it, is it will, because it recognizes that I've highlighted something, if I just click on Add to Tumblr, it will recognize that, hey, that's a quote that this person is interested in, and I could easily just click on quote, and everything that is highlighted will just appear very easily in quote. Makes it really, really easy to just share inspirational quotes or just share really cool things that you found on the internet. And in addition to that, this is great for people that create their own websites. It will also link back to the original post where you found that quote. So that's really cool. And once again, it makes sure that everyone is basically protected on the internet. And for the most part, that's mostly Tumblr. So, I mean, we do have quite a bit of time, and I will be able to show you guys specific things if you'd like. And I will take questions. Yes, sir.
Okay, what's the cost, and are they the only host, or can you basically, like WordPress and things, host it on your own, or have your own host?
So the question was, what is the cost? And by that he means if he wanted to not host his Tumblr on Tumblr servers, and I totally understand why, because of the fact that sometimes, as you saw, it can be a little wonky. And if he wanted to host it on his own personal server, he wanted to know if there's a way to do it and what's the cost. Unfortunately, there is no way to do that. You have to host your Tumblr on Tumblr servers.
What's the cost on the Tumblr server? It's free?
It's free, yes. He wanted to know what the cost for Tumblr is. It's a free service. The only thing you really generally do have to pay for is the themes, if you choose to use a premium theme. Once again, though, those range in prices. You saw that to $49. Mine that I paid for was $112, actually. But they all range, or you can use a free theme and you can choose to mark it up in terms of HTML very quickly.
Let me see if I understand this correctly. When you're following someone, whatever new appears on that site will show up in one place on your site. So like you'll be getting a feed from whatever all these sites, whatever all these Tumblr pages post that's new will then appear today when you go to Tumblr. Is that
the question was when someone updates their Tumblr, it all appears in basically one place so that you can basically go through and peruse all the content that they publish. Yes, that is the dashboard, and it is synonymous to the Facebook newsfeed wall and the Twitter newsfeed in general. That's where you would go to see where someone is tweeting about, let's say, the election or the sandwich that they just ate, or how badly they want the 5D Mark III or something like that.
So
Similarly,
so you don't have to go to each of those pages and scroll down to see what the newest thing is. The newest thing comes to you at your dashboard. Is that correct?
yes, that is correct. As they update the pages, new things do come up in your dashboard, and you are able to see those posts very easily. Similarly, when someone is following you all of the content that you are publishing yourself will appear in that person's dashboard. But once again, the dashboard is only accessible to Tumblr users. People that are not on Tumblr or not logged into Tumblr will just view your regular site. So once again, what that looks like is, I'll use James Nord's for a second. This is just James Nord's website, and this is his website. If you remember before too, I had his blog on the right-hand side, and I had my Tumblr blog on the left-hand side. It takes sweet time to load up. There you go. So this is what someone that is not logged into Tumblr will see. But people that are logged into Tumblr will see this.
People have to be logged in to follow people?
The question was, do people have to be logged in to follow people? If you want to see all of the people that you are following, if you want to see all of their Tumblr content at once in your dashboard, you absolutely do have to be logged in. Otherwise, it's the only way you can really see all their content is by basically just going from one Tumblr to another Tumblr to another Tumblr to another Tumblr and typing in the URLs over and over again. Yes, sir. You're next.
If you logged into Tumblr
Mm-hmm.
and you're looking at somebody else's Tumblr, is there some way just to see just their posts and their reposts rather than their entire dashboard with everything they're seeing?
His question, and actually it's a very good one, is if you're logged into Tumblr in one tab, and then in another tab, kind of like the way I am right now, you have someone else's Tumblr open, is there a way in your dashboard to just basically narrow it down to the stuff that's coming from one specific person? Unfortunately, there is not at the moment. Tumblr is working on a redesign though, as far as I understand, and they may incorporate that into what they want.
You just get assaulted by a massive information, and it's hard to get what you really want to see.
Well, if you really,
That's what social media.
if you really want to get to really what you want to see, you can type in the tags, or once again, you could just go to the person's Tumblr right there.
When you're there, you're assaulted by everything on there.
This is just everything that they are personally curating and publishing.
Assaulted by everything.
Stimuli is a great thing. Stimuli is a great thing.
Not if you're looking.
Yes, sir.
Two related on the metadata. When you first started out, you were saying that Tumblr used to strip all the metadata out of any photos that you put up there.
Hold on, before you go on, he's actually making a reference to my old metadata class. If any of you were,
Well, no, you said that in this class too.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go right ahead. Yes, Tumblr
But I'm
does
gonna
sort
make a
of
reference to the
metadata.
other one too.
Yeah.
You said that they used to do it, but they don't do it now. But then you said something like you're confident that they're going to redo it again or something. I kind of.
The reason why, okay, Tumblr, what they used to do is, if you were in Lightroom and you exported your images and you put in like Chris Gampat in the copyright tab or the creator tab, Tumblr actually used to import that data, and you used to be able to view it right down after you clicked on the little eye on the bottom left-hand side of the image. However, after a while, I don't know what happened, but they took the ability to display the copyright data out. I have a feeling that they will be putting it back in because of the way things are basically working out on the internet right now. If any of you have been following the news and social media, Pinterest, for example, is probably going to be facing lawsuits for just using people's content, not giving total attribution. So if Tumblr really does want to protect themselves, I'm confident they will be putting that information back in. But a workaround around that is to, as I've said in the other event too, naming your files correctly when you export them. So if I want to find anything shot by Chris Gampat, Tumblr will recognize when I put into the name stuff shot by Chris Gampat. If I put like Chris Gampat, if I'm shooting stuff for B&H, I'll put in Chris Gampat. This is my name, by the way, Chris Gampat, BH Photo Video Pro Audio. And then let's say I'm shooting photos of the front of the store. I'll put in photos of front of Superstore or something like that. And that's a little bit of a workaround. It's also a workaround for Facebook as well, who loves to strip out metadata, as we all know.
So,
Hold on one second, sir. Go right ahead.
As far as in general about blogs, I notice a lot of these are a picture with a small comment. Is it better, or is it just a different style to have shorter posts versus like a more lengthy post? Or
This was a general blogging question. She wanted to know is, what she noticed first off is a lot of people are just basically posting photos with a little bit of text. And she wanted to know if it's better to basically just do that or maybe post really long, lengthy posts. And the ultimate answer to that is ultimately content is king. If it is a really, really long, lengthy post, and it is really, really awesome content, and your heart is in it as you're creating it, then it's worth every moment that you're sitting there typing away on the keyboard. Other than that, I mean, you're really just your best editor. You have to see what works for you, what works for your audience in terms of what they want to read. It's a very situational situation, essentially. Yes. Yes, sir.
A related question back to the last class is going through all the keywords that we're putting, or tags, or whatever you want to call them now.
Right.
And spending all that time there doing all that, and then you're going to take this into Tumblr, and you're going to be doing it all over again because you got to type in the tags. So it's not taking the tags from there and using.
It's not. It's stripping that metadata out.
So what's the workaround for that?
You basically have to put the tags back in. His question was, if you are putting a lot of keywords into your photos from something like Lightroom, for example, and you upload them to Tumblr, what Tumblr is doing is it's stripping that metadata, so all those tags won't necessarily appear. What's the workaround to try to get them to basically have all those tags in there? There is really none. You're going to have to sit there and you're going to have to put the tags back in manually. You don't necessarily have to put every single tag that you put in. It really depends, on what you want to have, basically what the Tumblr community may really be interested in. So for this, actually no, let's say I'm shooting black and white street photography stuff. I could put that stuff in my Lightroom export, but I could also, and I really should be tagging it specifically as black and white, because as we saw, black and white was one of those tags that is curated by editors, and there are a lot of top contributors. So maybe I want them paying attention to me after a while.
What's their rationale for taking all this stuff out? I mean, you even said that Tumblr is, they protect
Their
you and they
rationale
like to
for
give credit
taking
and
all
everything
that
like
stuff out is basically the less information that they can have in a photo, the better it is for them in terms of storage. You have to remember that Facebook and Tumblr are dealing with millions and millions of photos each day, and if they can cut down some of that information in some way or another and make the files smaller, then it saves money for them in terms of hard drive
that
space.
Storage is so insignificant compared to the photo itself. I understand what you're saying.
Tell that to
They're
Facebook and tell that to
taking
Tumblr.
megabytes worth of pictures and taking 100 characters or something and saying, well, we're going to save that space. That's
Well,
just
I mean, it's
absurd.
a challenge that we face every day as creatives. Hopefully someone will come out with a super gigabyte, terabyte of some sort, and we won't have to worry about that at all one day.
as
Yes.
a side to his question, if you've got Lightroom up and you've got your keywords there, can you copy and paste those into Tumblr for the tag?
Her question was, if you've got Lightroom open and you've got Tumblr open, could you just copy and paste those right in? Absolutely, you could. And the way that you separate tags on Tumblr is basically just by use of a comma. So that means if I have black and white, as long as there is no comma in between black, if I don't write black, comma, and comma, white, the way I just wrote it will be 3 different tags. But if I have black and white, 3 different words, and then comma, black and white is going to be its own separate tag in and of itself.
With replies, you can set replies in settings to allow people to reply to your photos.
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
What's the between that and discuss that you mentioned earlier?
So the question was, we can, in Tumblr, as I've said before, you can set people to reply to your post. What's the difference between that and Discuss? Once again, Discuss is that plugin that I discussed earlier on in the events, and it allows people to basically have a universal login to log in and make commenting easier. The difference is that people can only reply to your post on the Tumblr dashboard. Discuss is designed more for people that do not use Tumblr and that go to your actual Tumblr page instead. So if you went to thephotographer.tumblr.com and you weren't logged into Tumblr at all, or you chose to just not have a Tumblr, then you can go to the end of one of my posts and log in using Discuss, and then you could comment. It's a totally different commenting module. In fact, Tumblr right out of the box doesn't even have commenting enabled. You actually have to go in, you have to mess with the code and program it yourself in a way, but it's actually very simple to do. Yes, miss?
I'm kind of taking baby steps with all this stuff, and I understand this is a really powerful social media engine, but what I want is to create almost like a simple web gallery to put some of my images and then maybe get to the blog part. Is that something that I could do on here and then have the blog on the side?
Her question was, she's taking baby steps in social media, and she wants to know if she can actually turn Tumblr into some place to kind of be like a web gallery where she can host all of her images and then kind of incorporate the blog in on the side. Yes, go ahead.
Well, it would be curated images, and I noticed that some of the themes are almost web galleries that have, big images on your blog page showcased.
Yeah, she noticed that some of the themes actually have kind of like that gallery type look. You absolutely can. You remember earlier on I created that About Me page? You could create a page like that, and you could just go ahead and insert all of your photos, and that could be like your gallery page. But the way Tumblr works is that your actual Tumblr, so let's say, what's your name, I'm sorry? Sharisa. Let's say you had sharisa.tumblr.com. That's still going to be your main URL. Other than that, I mean, it's really just a matter of domain name mapping and things like that. But for the most part, yes, you could, but not totally what you would want. Yes, miss, in the back.
I asked before about font customization.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you totally.
I was asking before about font customization.
Yes.
And what I wanted to know specifically was when you pick a template or a theme, like in WordPress or in MailChimp, which I use a lot, you're able to customize all that. Even when you pick a theme, you could change everything.
Right.
It's sort of like just the launching point.
Right. Okay, her question was, one, she had this question earlier on, and she patiently held her question to the end. I thank you for that. Can you change your font easily in Tumblr? I have not found a way to easily do it. The best way for me to do it is usually I go into the HTML and then I type in the certain code to make my posts appear with the specific font. Like if I like Viner Hand and I want it to appear in that, I'll type in the specific code that I need. Other than that, it could take some manipulation on your part in terms of messing with the HTML. I understand that Blogspot and WordPress can do that because my main site is run through WordPress. And I love the power that WordPress allows. But let's also face it, WordPress isn't for everyone. It can be quite cumbersome at times, and not everyone really wants to pay the monthly server fees as well. So the short answer is no, you cannot unless you do the specific code per post. Or you could go in, you can mess with the HTML, and you can just tell it to have all font on the site to be that specific. Even the premiums, yes, absolutely. Yes, miss in the back.
Do you watermark your photos?
Do I watermark my photos? Yes, I personally do, but I do mine in a specific way. I actually do mine to kind of look a bit artistic and fit in very well with the images, but in addition to that, I also usually lower the opacity to around 30% or so. The reason why is because then it's not totally visible, but it is still visible to the human eye. Watermarking is really something that's very subjective. It can be done by people if they want to, or it can not be done with people that want to. What I have done before also is for weddings, for example, when I used to shoot weddings and I used to give people proofs to ensure that they didn't steal them, I put watermarks with a 100% opacity all over them to ensure that they didn't steal them. But once again, watermarking is very, very subjective. I'll get to you in 1 second. Yes?
Would you say, I mean, I've certainly heard of Tumblr before, and I'm familiar with it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but since there's so many of these social things out there, would you say, in your opinion, is this pretty much the preeminent one for photography? I mean,
Her
it's kind of
question,
my question.
her question was, there are a lot of different social media platforms out there, and she wanted to know if this is the preeminent one for photography. And that is a very, very hard question to answer, and it's also not very direct as well, too. For example, if you want to integrate your blog into your current website, let's say you have a current website already, it would probably be much easier for you to use WordPress, for example.
Right.
Tumblr is really, once again, it's not only a blog, it's also a social network in and of itself. So you can go in and you can spread your work out, you can blog your work, and then people will go in, check it out in their Tumblr dashboard, and it'll be very easy for them to interact with you. But other than that, I mean, as photographers, we really should be on many different platforms. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Tumblr, I'm on Twitter. I still have a Flickr, I don't really use it anymore. Personally, for photo hosting, I actually use 500px. I find the interface to be very, very nice. But I mean, once again, it's apples and oranges. They are totally different platforms. Yes, miss?
You, like, following up on her question, what if, I know you suggested that photographers should be everywhere, but what if you want, like, I wanted just to pick one. I don't have anything, let's say, as of now, either Flickr or WordPress or Tumblr, and I wanted to just pick one instead of spending that much time.
Her question was, following up on the previous question, what if you just wanted to pick one platform and just stick with that? It really, really depends. Once again, that's apples and oranges. You'd really have to go in and you'd have to experiment with each different platform and see which one fits you. So maybe today you'll leave here and you'll start a Tumblr, and you'll start a blogspot, and you'll start a WordPress. And actually, I did this when I started the Photographer.com. I had the Photographer.wordpress.com, and then I had the Photographer.blogspot.com. And I had them both running for 2 weeks. I tried to figure out which one was best for me, and in the end, I chose WordPress.
But that's because you have a lot of text. What if you don't really want as much text? I'm assuming.
Her question was, that's because I have a lot of text, and which is a very good point. What if you don't have a lot of text? Once again, also, it's very subjective. You're going to have to go in. WordPress has a lot of great themes that you can work with. Tumblr also has a lot of great themes that you can work with. It really has to depend on what exactly you specifically want to do. As I said, if you want to integrate it into your website, WordPress may be better. If you just want to have it as like your online gallery, go right ahead and go for this. Yes, sir?
I had a couple of other questions, but now I want to follow up on the follow-up.
Let's have you do that first, and then I'll let other people get to questions.
Now, she mentioned just what one site should I have. I'm getting into the social media stuff now, and I want my presence where it needs to be. So what, several websites. I mean, I'm starting with Facebook. I'm not really using it that much other than to follow some information. So I want to do that. I guess a blog or something, and I have a Twitter account now, although I don't have a mobile phone that does that, but I guess I could follow that on my PC and do that. So where do I put my eggs? I've got Facebook, I've got Twitter, I'll probably do this also. What else do I need to get started with this to make sure that I'm well-rounded in the social media world?
He essentially wanted to know, which platforms he really should be on to make sure that he's well-rounded in the photography and social media world. The best ones are really Facebook, Absolutely, because everyone and their mother's mother is on Facebook right now. Twitter, the reason why is because a lot of people think of Twitter as the ultimate Facebook status and nothing else. If you're a business person, though, there's a lot more usage that you can get out of Twitter. Once again, as I've said, with everything, the best thing to do is for you to just go in, dive in, experience it for yourself. Tumblr is once again, social media community, and it's also a blogging platform. Tumblr has grown exponentially within the past year. It is a platform that you might want to be on. Give it a try for maybe a month. If you don't really see it working for you, then you can abandon it. If not, then keep going at it. Perseverance is always key in my eyes. What other platforms are there? There's also the whole argument of Flickr or 500px. 500px is my personal baby. I like it a lot more because I like the quality of the work there a lot more. Flickr, once again, as I said, they have a redesign rolling out today, and maybe they may actually step their game up a bit. Once again, that's really depending on where you are, because Flickr is a totally different beast as well than 500px. I mean, Flickr's got groups, they've got galleries that you can curate. It's much easier to comment. 500px, you have to basically try to use social media to get onto the radar of the editors or on the popular wave or something like that. So it really depends, once again.
How different do they all have to be? I mean, that you have Tumblr, you can put something on here, and you can have it automatically update your Facebook page. Do I need to add something extra to Facebook? Can I just go to this one place and try to say, go out to Facebook and Twitter, and I'm done with those?
This is a very good question.
Master place to do
This
all
is a
this?
very good question. He wanted to know how different does the content that you're putting on each different platform have to be, and that really has to deal with the audience that you have on those platforms. I can tell you from, the Phoblographers is larger, so I'll deal with that right now. Our main site is just basically everyone comes to, and then our Facebook site, we basically engage people about like street photography there and lenses there and lighting there, because we felt and we've seen that that does best with our audience over there. Our Twitter audience, on the other hand, really appreciates us sharing more tips, and our Tumblr audience really just has an emphasis on whatever we're sharing visually that's really, really nice. So if I have a post about, let's say, the Fuji X100, and we did a street photography post today, so let's say I shot a great image with the Fuji X100, I'll promote probably that best image from that post, and then I'll probably pull a quote from that post like I did earlier on to try to convince people and coerce them to come over to the website. So once again, it really depends, because each platform has its own different followers. The same mentality that you approach with Facebook, you should not approach your Twitter with. Yes, miss, in the back. You only get one, I'm sorry. 500px. How many of you do not know what 500px is? 500px is a website, I think they were started in either Canada or Russia, but they are another photo sharing platform. They're probably the biggest, right behind Flickr. And what's really cool about them is the way that they display the images. And in addition to that, they also put a heavy emphasis on just sharing your best photos and nothing else. The editors there actually go through all of the images themselves, and they say what the best are. Flickr will be different, and Flickr is different, and I mean, Flickr, you have potential to go out there and really sell yourself. You have groups, for example, and you have people that you can become friends with. 500px does have people that you can become friends with, but the main ways that I've been successful with 500px is by using social media and promoting all of my work through my Facebook, my Tumblr, using Pinterest, using Twitter. And when people click on those links that I send out through the airwaves, so to speak, they come in and then they choose to either favorite the post or like the post, or knots essentially. So it's much more difficult than Flickr, but what is really nice is that there is a nice emphasis on putting up just your best images, and it's really nice to know that every image that you go to and see there, you'll be like, wow, that's really nice. Yes, sir.
You mentioned earlier that you, I think, paid over $100 for your premium theme on,
Yes.
on Tumblr. Just wondering what kind of extra features you're getting that justifies that expense as opposed to, a free thing.
So the question was, he noticed that I paid $100 for my theme, because I did say so, versus the free themes. You get quite a bit, actually. It is much easier to edit a lot of what I see right here on the page. As you saw in when I was choosing my theme, the minimalist, I had very little on the side that I could work with. With a paid Tumblr theme, though, you can actually do quite a bit more. I'll log into mine really quickly and I'll show you. So once again, I'll show you guys right now. So these are, customized theme. So take a look. I have very little right here at the moment, right? Now I'm gonna hit close. I'm gonna log out. I'm gonna go to mine for the moment. Because I have two others, okay, I'm logged in as the Photographer, cool. Gonna go to the Photographer, and then if I choose Customize Theme, I have a lot more right out of the box. See, take a look at that. I have a lot more versatility. The only other workaround that you could work with is going in and manually doing the code yourself. If you have no problem doing code, then more power to you. But if you really don't want to do that, then paying for a theme is probably your best option. You had a question, miss?
You just kind of touched on it. I want to add Pinterest to. I have a Tumblr blog.
Mm-hmm.
For people to start pinning my photos if they like them.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way is with coding, and I don't know. Is there a simple way to put the code on my Tumblr, or do I really need to know how to do coding?
Her question was, she is getting really into Pinterest, and she wants people to basically go around and start pinning her photos to specific categories and their boards on Pinterest. You really have to understand Pinterest and really use it to understand what I said. And the rest of you, you can just look at me like I'm speaking Japanese. It's totally cool. I don't mind. She wants to know if there's a way and if there's code that she can insert in order to basically make it easier for people to pin her photos.
There's code for it. I just don't know what to do with it. And I wrote the guy who created the theme.
Well, the thing is, while there could be code for it, it might not work with every theme. Like, for example, I've tried to insert Facebook like buttons and Twitter like buttons, and after wanting to rip my hair out, and that's why my hair is so short today, for a really, really long time, doing it for B&H, after about a couple of hours, I finally was able to correctly write the code. But that code won't necessarily work in the minimalist theme that we were working with today, and it won't work at all in the paid theme that I'm using for the Photographer. So the code won't always work. To make it easier, there is no real easy way to do that. The best way for people to do that is basically the same way the Tumblr has the share this button that you could have and you can install onto your browser. There is a pin this button that people can use. And the people that are very big on Pinterest right now and really love to use it will probably have that installed. The question then is basically leading them over to your Tumblr. And the way to do that is through Facebook integration, Twitter integration, and really interacting with people across Tumblr.
Do you suggest having my Tumblr go to my personal Facebook page with my friends and family, etc., or should I create a separate photography page?
Her question was, do I recommend having people go to her personal Facebook page, or do I recommend her setting up a photography page on Facebook? I recommend setting up a photography page. I always recommend setting up a photography page. Absolutely, because you won't necessarily want to see people look. You won't necessarily want people to see photos of you playing with like your dog or something like that. Yes.
Progressive question. So if I take one of the free themes, I can go in and change the code on that, and pretty much do what I want with that. And then the progression is, can I create totally my own theme from scratch? And then the progression from that is, can I actually
Hold on.
charge for it?
His question, well, the first part of it was, can he go into a free theme, basically do whatever he wants to it, as he knows, basically do whatever he wants to it to basically unleash all the features that a premium theme might allow you to do. Yes, if you know HTML. Part two of that question, go right ahead. I'm just lost it.
Can I just start from scratch and just create a theme from scratch rather than starting from there? I guess they have developers do that.
You
so
absolutely can start a theme totally from scratch. Tumblr actually has blank themes that you can work with, and you can just go in and just totally start working with the code. If you are very knowledgeable in Dreamweaver, for example, you could probably just work with the code in Dreamweaver and then import it, set it up accordingly, and work with it that way.
Okay. And then can I get it up on the Tumblr page with the themes and charge something for it?
Talk to Tumblr. He wanted to know if he can basically commodify his themes. Talk to Tumblr about that.
Okay.
That's not a question I can answer for you. Yes?
What should we know about video on Tumblr and how it compares with, say, YouTube or other options for streaming?
His question was, what should you know about video on YouTube and how it compares to other options like YouTube or Vimeo? I'm sorry, yes, Tumblr. For the most part, if you're a videographer, the best thing to do is to basically host all your videos on YouTube or Vimeo, depending on who your audience is. I mean, Vimeo's audience is much more of the creative side and indie videographers, and YouTube is everyone and their mother and their mother and their mother's dog. So the best thing to do essentially is put your videos on there, and then you can either choose the share this. You can use the share to Tumblr button that I talked to you about that you can put in your dashboard. Sorry, in the browser that will not work at the moment. Or you could basically take the embed code and you could put it into a video post or a text post by working with the HTML, and then you can share it on Tumblr that way. That's really the best way to work with it. Yes, miss?
Is there a minimum, like to post a blog? You mentioned, you set things up to do 3 times in one day, but on the other side of the coin, is there a, so many times that you should have a post to make it worth even having a blog?
Her question is actually a very good one. It's basically how many times should you really publish throughout the day? That's, once again, very subjective. I mean,
Well, or even once a week, or,
Well, it's very subjective, and it also depends on how much traffic you want to really drive to your website. You can have one very, very good post that will drive a lot of traffic to your website over the period of a week, or you can just be publishing lots of regular random posts many times throughout the day. It really depends, once again. I mean, if you're someone as big as TechCrunch, for example, and you know that you can constantly and consistently put out great content all the time, then I see no reason why you shouldn't be publishing constantly many times in a day. But if you don't have the time to publish every day, then I wouldn't recommend that you sit there in front of your LCD screen all day trying to work on Tumblr all day. Personally, I mean, on my personal Tumblr, I probably publish maybe once a day. For the Photographer's Tumblr, we publish 3 or 4 times a day. For B&H's Tumblr, also around 3 or 4 times a day. But other people that are larger than us, like Lomography's Tumblr, they publish various times a day. But they not only have original content, they also have a whole fan and user base that are basically acolytes to them and love sharing their photos. So they'll curate photos from their followers as well. It really depends on your whole strategy in approaching the blog, essentially. Yes, miss?
Someone mentioned earlier, and I agreed, low bad reviews, not bad reviews, but kind of not the best reviews.
Bad reviews?
Bad reviews.
That's really weird because of the fact that on Android it actually has very good reviews, but continue.
Okay, I was just wondering if you knew, I didn't realize you're on Android, if you could recommend other Tumblr apps. Because I mean, I use the Tumblr, the official Tumblr one, but
Right.
I was just wondering if you knew of any better Tumblr apps. But that's-
She wanted to know if I knew of any other Tumblr apps for the iPhone. Unfortunately, because I do not own an iPhone, I do not know of any other ones. For Android, though, it's usually just best to look into the market and look at the top ratings on them. Usually, whatever is the best rated is the best thing that you should go for, though. Yes, miss?
The people who I'm following,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you mentioned that all that shows up on the dashboard, right?
Yes.
So if someone goes to my Tumblr, they can see all their posts on my Tumblr.
Her question was, you have all the people that she's following, and she sees all that on her dashboard. She wanted to know if when people go to her actual Tumblr page, do they also see all of the posts from the people that she's following? No. However, if you do like certain posts, and you do choose, I chose not to do this in the settings, if you do choose to display the posts that you do like, then they will be able to see the posts that you do like, and they'll kind of get a section of your dashboard, but not all of it.
So like, let's say I reblog something that you posted.
Uh-huh.
Is there some
Which I thank you for very much. It's very flattering that you're reblogging something that I posted.
Is there some way that you can check out the comments that I got when I reblogged it?
She wanted to know if she reblogged something that I originally posted, will I be able to check out the comments or the interactions after she did it? Yes, absolutely. In the dashboard, if you remember, I brought up that little notes section. Let me go back. Right here, notes. Notes is basically a whole history of that type of stuff. So that's how you'll be able to see it.
Including someone else's, not just the history doesn't include only yours.
Absolutely. All the history total. Any other questions? Yes, miss.
Say for your photos on here, and you just right click and copy and paste. Are there settings that you can put into your photo?
She wanted to know how safe your photos are on Tumblr. For the most part, because of the mentality of Tumblr, your photos are very safe. Once again, as I said, they do give a lot of they do place a very big emphasis, on creation and citation. If you want to try to right-click one of these images, you could copy it and you could save it, but for the most part, that's a risk that you take anytime that you put something onto the internet. That's also another reason why I like 500px. Let me go to it right now. So if I'm here and I right-click, hey, this photo is copyright of Chris Gampat. Hey, I want to steal this. Wait, no, I can't. But if someone's going to screenshot the page, you can't do anything to fight that. So, I mean, that's a risk anytime that you put anything on the internet that you really just have to take. Keywording and using Google image search, you should really take my metadata course, so look out for it when I do it again. I really do talk about that quite a bit, and the way that you'll actually be able to find your images when they are used online. Yes, sir?
What new options exist in this internet-enabled world if you have a collection that you want to charge for in some way? Like, it used to be the only option would be to publish a book, but now, I mean, do you do a DVD-ROM that you then sell, and then have like a few teaser photos up on something like a Tumblr? What are people doing in this environment? Because I mean, now you're able to post up a huge amount free, but maybe you don't necessarily want to give away your entire archives, even though they might be of interest to people. So what are people doing?
His question was, how do you basically monetize your photos on the web? Because like in print, you can basically print books out, or you can just make a print and people will buy it right there. But the internet is different. Flickr allows you to license your photos to Getty, and when Getty uses your photos, you will be able to get paid through that. Other than that, it's best for you to really have your own website and just say, if you want to use the photos, or if you want me to shoot for you, just contact me and we'll talk and we'll negotiate.
Right.
Yes?
I say, to his question,
question. We're going to be having a class with Photo Shelter at some point in the future. And it's a great platform. You can do a website and sell your images through them. They walk you through a lot of different steps and you can represent your own images online. So look for that class.
That's very true. That is another one.
Photoshop.
Photo Shelter. Photo Shelter. Their offices are actually not too far away from here. They're not. Any other questions? Yes. You only get one more. I'm just letting you know.
Okay. I'm going to have to make it a real big one then.
All right.
Does
With
that include this
17
one, or-
parts. No. You were following somebody, so then their post
I am.
appeared. You're
Continue.
following like 96 people or something.
Okay.
I don't know how you have all that time. So you were following somebody. That person's posts appear on your
In my dashboard, yes.
And then you followed somebody else who was also following that person, and then that same post appeared on there. You have the same photo up there twice because you were following it, and the person that you started following now also follows that person.
No. This was basically a question about reblogging. He said that I was following certain people, and this is going to be the last question because we're out of time. I'm following certain people, but then when they reblogged something from someone else that I am not following, he wanted to know if I was basically following that person too that got reblogged that I am not following. No, I'm not. Because of the fact that they're just bringing that content into their own curatorial platform. And essentially then I won't really be getting any other information or any feeds from that specific person unless I go specifically to their Tumblr and choose to follow.
But you had one photo up there that was duplicated.
Maybe
Yes.
you reblogged it and then you were following somebody that had redone it. But yeah, there was the picture of the field.
Yeah.
The field, right. Pardon?
How did that happen?
Oh, because when you reblog, it tells you who you're reblogging it from.
Right.
So then you see, let's say it's person X reblogged this photo from person Y. You see person Y because of the fact that you see where that content came from. And then if you click on notes, you'll be able to see who the original person was. That's really about it.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
For more information, please visit us online, give us a call, or stop by our New York City Superstore. You can also connect with us on the web.